All right. Hello, everyone. So today is our introduction to Spark Machine Learning Libraries session that's going to help you with your assignment too. All right. So agenda, some new skills, key reminders. We're going to look at Markdown for Jupyter Notebook. We're going to look at the parser function. This is very important. If you don't remember anything we talk about today, this is the most important thing that you need to know. Parser function, using pipeline, and then the part 2 tips, we're going to do example, logistic regression model for Framingham data. So we predict if the person is at risk of the heart attack. Then there are some plots that are, well, it's not something that you are asked to do, but it's something that I would like you to walk away with from the session. Okay, some examples. All right, so some new skills you're going to learn, some data management, some data engineering, and you're learning of working in the cloud. You're learning the benefits of using services and to work on a cloud. And we're learning how to manage your resources, where before this course, most of your work was done where? On your PC, right? You installed RStudio and you used your computer to save the work and to run, right? Here, instead, you're using the cloud, where you need to learn how to manage your resources. So far, thanks goodness, I have not seen any complaints about the capacity hours, okay? Unless people who ran out did not submit the case, right? So if you are out, you need to have Salesforce case. And if you run out, unfortunately, there is nothing can be done until next month for you, okay? Well, all right, so submit a ticket at least. Okay, so with that being said, attention, do not put your credit card. Entering the credit card number is not going to give you more hours, okay? Please do not do this. Somebody always does it once in a while. Don't do this, because then you're not only going to be charged, but the TAs will not be able to help you, because what's available on a paid account could be slightly different from what's available on a trial. This cannot be undone, and this is it. So this is a big mistake that people who did not do well in the past made, okay? So do not put the credit card, put this picture as a reminder, okay? Now, additional. So do not click on upgrade, you cannot undo it. So you want to stop the runtime environment before you exit, because if you don't stop the kernel, what's going to happen? It's going to keep on running, and you're going to be out of your hours, right? Does closing the browser stop the kernel? True and false. Does closing the browser stop closing the browser? It does not stop kernel, right? So yes, false, exactly. Excellent. So if you close the browser tab, it's not going to stop. But if you forgot, log in immediately and stop, right? Before it's too late, log in and stop. You want to stop. Do not open any tickets with IBM unless instructed, okay? They're not going to do the homework. Somebody tried to get IBM to help with the code in the past. That's hilarious, right? But please don't do this, okay? You want to submit Salesforce ticket for assistant, and you want to respond. If the proposed solution solves the issue, respond, okay? If not, respond. You need to upload the data before you create the notebook. Do not delete object storage. Remember, what's object storage? Location where data is stored. All right, do not open two notebooks in edit mode at the same time, because you'll be consuming hours, double hours. When you run the notebook, you should not skip cells. You should run it from the top, right? It should be executed in sequential order, starting from the top. And to get the maximum credit, the code must return correct results. And I'll show you a few pointers where sometimes it's obvious that the code is not correct, okay? So you need to choose correct runtime environment. In this case, at the moment, it's Spark 3.3, Python 3.10. Beware, at any time, they could upgrade the Spark or Python, right? Spark 3.4 is already well out there, but it has not been deployed on the cloud. If you wait to do the assignment too long, right? If you have an I, something like that, incomplete, be aware that at some point the environment could be new and old environment could be deprecated. It happened to people last semester. We had Python 3.9 and people who did not submit their assignment on time, right? 2 weeks past due date. That's it. They took out Python 3.9, right? The work was tested in 3.9. They upgraded to 3.10. For 1 week, they had maybe two running together. Then they took it out, okay? So this is the correct environment. If you choose wrong environment, you'll be consuming hours and not getting what you're supposed to be getting, right? Okay? Now, markdown cell syntax. I'm not sure if we talked about it or not, but markdown cells are not executable cells. Those are headings, bullet points, table of contents, etc., right? So this is a level 1 heading. The syntax is single hash mark, and then goes the text, right? This is just the text. Next one, see this double hash mark is a to level 2 heading, right? Then you see the table of contents. The way it's set up is this. Hyphen, it just a circular bullet point. So this one, it specifies the bullet point type, right, which is circle. Then what you have in the brackets, this is an internal links, right? But in here, following the brackets, in parentheses, that's a unique section name in the notebook. So see this here, this is a section ID called Titanic _ data, right? And here, right next to this menu, right next to this, you see this anchor. So clicking on that link, on Titanic data link, is gonna take you where? To the Titanic data in the notebook. And this is the external link. So you put the text of the link in the brackets, and in parentheses, you specify where the link takes you. In this case, the link takes you to outside web page, right? But in that case here, it's taking you to the section in the document. Does that make sense? I hope it does, right? And I can show you in the Titanic notebook also if you want. But I'm going with screenshot because, you know, it consumes hours when I go to edit mode, but I will. Okay, so that's a cell. One of the cells in the notebook is what? It's a table, right? See this? The table consists of what? Several cells, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 cells, right? So there should be 4, I think. So 5 actually. Look at this. The first cell, there is nothing. It's, oh wait, no. First cell is just here. It's a blank, right? Next cell, it says variable. Next cell, it says description. So 4 cells. See? In the 4th cell, I want to put a picture, but I want my picture to span multiple rows. See? The picture spans 7 rows, right? So basically the syntax is like this: table opening tag, then all the way at the bottom I have table closing tag. Table row opening, table row closing. In here, table data defines the cell, right? So I have blank cell, then I have this, but B tag means bold, right? So that's just the font size, just alignment, width. Well, because see, I like to use percentages. I don't like to specify the inches, okay? Because this will readjust based on the screen size. So you have the image here. For the image, you just specify the image URL. See this image source. That's it, right? And you want an image to span several rows, right? So let's look. I can go in a notebook Oops, no, wrong browser. Okay, so that's as a notebook, right? So right now, I'm gonna open the notebook. This is Titanic, right? I'm gonna open it in the view mode first. Oops, I won't be able to open it in the view mode because in order to see the markdown code, I must be in a edit mode. So let's go edit. Let's see what happens. I'm going to edit mode right now. What is it doing here? It's starting unfortunately, it's starting my environment, right? So I'll just show you quickly what I showed you in the slides. So it's starting environment right now, right? And then you should be able to see that it's Spark, right? Oh boy. Oh, not sure why it's doing it because I had it stopped. I had it stopped. So let's see. Not sure what's going on because I do remember that before I exited, I stopped. So see this? If you're not sure, always go to administration, environmental runtime, and make sure that nothing is running. See, in my case, I don't have anything running. So now I'm gonna go back again to the project, right? And I'm gonna go here. So this is where I have saved my file. So this is the Titanic notebook. I need to unlock it. I need to, well, I can click and then I can click on edit from here. It does not matter. So that's a notebook, right? Now I'm gonna click on the pencil and that's gonna start the Spark. I'm not sure what happened, but now it says starting runtime environment. Very good, right? Now it's starting. Okay. Well, see this? If I double click here, I'll double click here on this green bar. That shows me what the cell syntax. See this? Hash mark and the text. When I run this cell, it's going to convert it back. See? This is just the text. Here, this is the cell with second level headings and with the table of content code, right? So if I click here, like for instance, load libraries, it's going to take me to this session, okay? So for part 2, to save yourself, you can just copy the structure, but instead of Titanic data, you're going to have what? Low birth weight data, right? You're going to have similar structure, but the data you're looking at will be different. Different column names, okay? Maybe different picture, okay? So that's what it is. So you're going to run this stuff, right? Here, okay, all you need to do here is this. You're gonna go in here, right? You need to put the credentials code, right? And the instructions shows you how. That's the only thing that you have to do. You put the credentials code, right? So you go to here, right? You're gonna do read data, right? Then you're gonna do what? Select data from the project. I already uploaded my data, of course. So see this is the data, right? Titanic in this case. So you're gonna go select. Now your cursor is here. You need to select what Spark session data frame. If you don't see it, you're probably not using the Spark environment. Then you're gonna do what? Insert, right? What else you need to do? You have to change this to a 1 because it's called with a 1 in your code, right? So in here, and you're gonna change this to a 1, then there is one more. You need to do it in for schema, right? Because when you are analyzing, when you analyze the what do you call data, right? For example, like age, you want to look at the average age. You don't want to look at the average ASCII value of the age, right? So you want to make sure that you're reading the data correctly, right? Data types. What is this? This is bucket name. You're gonna have your bucket name and you're gonna scroll down all the way where it says bucket and replace with bucket name. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. It might be a typo. This has to be changed to data 1, and this is 1. Thank you very much. Typo. Okay. This is a 1 because this is how I call this in my rest of the code. It's easier to change it here in 2 places than go edit the whole code, right? So then adding for schema, then you go down and you change this bucket number, you paste the bucket number, right? Copy paste the bucket name. That's it. That's all you have to do and run. So this part of the assignment should not take more than an hour. Okay? So now I'm done, suppose, right? You're gonna do this file, you're gonna do download this HTML, right? Once you download it as HTML, you can print the HTML file to PDF, right? That's it. So now, suppose that I'm done, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna say leave. Now what I need to do, very important, I forget something important. You have to go here, environmental runtime, right? And you have to end this environment. See this? You have to stop. Because if you don't stop, big problem, right? So see, so far I used 0.9 this month, right? Okay. So next thing is I'm gonna go back to my project and I'm gonna go in a view mode because there is no need to sit in the edit mode when you're doing nothing but studying the code, right? So I'm gonna go to, this is a Titanic, right? I opened the notebook, just nothing but opening in a view mode, right? Or you can also click on that menu and select view. So see, so that's a notebook in a view mode. So it should still work, right? Okay. Now, let's see. So that's an HTML thing. Okay. So now this is important thing. So what you're doing is you're defining, and when you parse data, you're defining something called the label document. What is this? It takes first parameter, first part, it takes the unique identifier of each record. Next one is a concatenated list of the predictors, right? Like what do you use to predict? Like for example, in Titanic data, it's what? The passenger class, age, those are used as predictors. It's a concatenated list. What is the last one? The last one is 1.0, that's a label. 1.0 if passenger survived, 0.0 if passenger died. So we have to define the custom parser function called parse document. It takes one line in the RDD, right? It processes in line RDD line at a time, and it returns the label document for each line. So see this? So this one, you have this code that calls the parser function, right? Now, but remember the first row in a file contains what? The column headings. We need to remove the column headings. That's what it's doing here. It's removing the column. Well, it's saying this: if the row contains name is one of the column names, right? Then we want to skip that row, right? If it does not contain names, then we want to parse, right? So then the parsed data is loaded into another data frame of the documents, right? You're creating the set of labeled documents. So where is it in the code? We'll scroll down. Well, see this here, you're loading the library, it's in the same section. Do not change this word label, it has to say label, okay? Now, well, this is gonna save you a lot of time. Do yourself a favor, list the column names in the data set, and next to each one, put an index. In Python, the labeling starts from 0, right? So name is at position 0, P class at position 1, age, sex, see this? Now, the column that you are predicting is at position 4, right? The ID is at position 5. Then the rest of this, you take the delimited string, but here is little trick. Name, what is name? It's a passenger, it's an identifying information. It's not a unique ID, but it's an information that is called PII, personal identifying information. We don't use names as part of analysis. That's why it is omitted, right? So you have to do something like this. You're looking at this, see this values of 4, it means that it's a fourth column. The fourth column, if it's greater than 0, right, then it's, of course, it's 1, right? If it's a 1, then it's 1.0. See, it's checking. If it's greater than 0, then the label is 1.0. Otherwise, the label is 0.0, okay? Then the middle parameter here is a concatenation, right? It's taking the concatenation with a space, right? Space delimited. See, and it's returning this label document. Then if you go down all the way, if you go down somewhere, it's over here, parse data, okay? See this? It's calling, it's keeping the first row, and it's taking the rest of the rows through that function, right? But in here, what it's doing is it outputting the first 5 records. If the first row in the output, you see the column names, it means that somehow you did not skip the column names correctly. Some students do this. They just copy and paste the code and they try to make it work for the part 2 data. But the problem is in part 2 data, is there is a column name called name? I don't think so, right? There is no column called name. So for this reason, if you leave the code as is, then your column names don't get removed, right? You'll see them here. Then another thing that students do is they take this function and try to plug in as is. If you do that, instead of predicting if the baby is born underweight, you're going to be predicting if baby's mother is a smoker. You're going to be predicting the wrong column. Your analysis are going to be incorrect, right? Everything will be incorrect. So do yourself a big favor, list columns like this, okay? That will help you. Then you just plug it in, okay? But remember, you cannot just take a code and plug the part 2 data. You need to do some editing, right? So, but I would say 80% of errors are in the parser function, okay? 80% of problems. Then another indicator is area under the ROC curve. It must be between 0.5 and 1, okay? If the area is 0.4, for example, something is incorrect, okay? Okay, so now let's go back. Here is just an example. Oh, it's just talking about the parser functions that we just talked about, all right? Then it's using the pipeline. Pipeline consists of 3 stages, the tokenizer, the hashing, right? And then it calls the logistic regression method. But what you do is remember the data is split into training and test data. In this case, it's doing 20% and 80%. You can also do the 70% and 30% if you like, right? But you have to explain in a paper. Then, okay, so now part 2 tips here. You want to, as I already talked about, you need to add infer schema, right? This line. Because then when you do statistics part, for the age, you don't want to be looking at the average ASCII value. You want to look at the average age, right? Most of the code errors are where in the parser data, because some students, they just blindly plug in the code and that's it, you know. That's wrong, right? You cannot plug in the code. Different data, different columns, okay? Different number of columns maybe, right? So today, I'm going to show you another example, the Framingham data. And the idea is to build logistic regression model to predict the 10-year risk of coronary heart disease. So data includes the patient ID. So this is going to be our ID at position 0, right? We have gender, age, the education, if the person is a smoker, and number of cigarettes per day. Take a look at these two columns. Right away, you can see this. If the person is a smoker, there must be more than 1 cigarette per day, right? So you see these two can be dependent on each other. Now, you see this? If the person is on blood pressure, medicine, etc., some other medical stuff, and the cholesterol, the systolic, diastolic, blood pressure, BMI, etc. But in position 16, what you have, 10-year risk, right? It's a 1, it means person is at risk. 0, it means person is at no risk. See, there are a lot of columns here. And we are going to predict if the person is at risk, right? So, okay, so I'm gonna go to the data set. Not data set, sorry, notebook. I'm gonna go back here, and what I'll do, how am I gonna do it? I'm gonna go to open the notebook in what? In a view mode, right? Because I don't want to be using up my hours, okay? Well, see, so this is the notebook. I have the table of contents here, right? If I click on a section, it's gonna take me to that section, okay? This is a data description. This is just the table, but of course there are more rows because I've got more columns, right? And I put a picture here. You cannot copy and paste the picture. You have to put the link to an image, web link image, okay? Here, this is a load libraries code. Well, here is the fun part starts. Can I just go back to my Titanic notebook, copy and paste the code blindly? I don't think so, okay? Because if I do that, again, I'm going to be predicting if the patient is a smoker, which is incorrect, right? So what is the ID? It's in position 0. What I'm going to be predicting is in position 16, right? This is a label. The rest of it, we're going to take the delimited list. But here, you may want to play around because some of the columns are dependent among each other. So here, with this data, you would probably want to do the correlation plot. You want to visualize to see if your predictors could be dependent from each other, then you want to keep one. Like here, for instance, you want to track if the person is a smoker or number of cigarettes per day, right? Something like that. So you've got this. Then here, this is a parser. I tried multiple combinations, right? I just commented that out. Hash mark is a comment, okay? So this returns a label, but see this is the ID, this is a delimited list. And here, what am I doing here? I'm saying if this is greater than 0, then I'm gonna put it as 1.0, otherwise 0.0, right? So that's a label document. Here, it's just reading the data. I need to make sure that I change it to 1. I need to make sure that I have info schema set to true, right? Then here I just output the first 5 rows. Here I just do data exploration, right? Print schema, remember? You can look at number of patients here, describe. That's basically similar to what you see above, but different format, okay? And for some reason, this cell took longer to run than the cell above. This one is just showing me the count. Do you see that there's a little imbalance in the data? Because most of my data are not at risk, see? Okay. Now here, this is just looking at the education, right? Education level, and it's checking if it's at risk or not, right? And here, just a plot telling you risk by education level, right? Well, it's doing the counts, but Again, the data set, you have more people who are not at risk than at risk, right? But that's just looking at the data. Well, then here, I'm looking at the average, right? I want to know the average age, not the average ASCII value of an age, average age of people who are not at risk, right? And people who are at risk. This is an age distribution for all patients, right? So here I just a plot, right? It's plot library, I believe, yes. So but notice that here I just plot what? One column, right? And later in this file, I'm giving you the shortcut how to plot all columns at once, all numeric columns I'll give you. But here is just, okay, this is how you would check if there are any missing values. In this point, there are none, okay? You're gonna do this is null, and then you take the sum, right? Well, I'm just showing you how to do, okay? This is just the information about the data types. And notice that you're reading the numbers correctly. You're not reading age as a character, okay? Well, this is a describe command. It gives you the number summary. Well, okay. Here, if you look at the age, you want to make sure that your maximum age is not lower than the average, right? It won't be if you meet that line, okay? Because then your analysis is gonna be wrong. Well, of course, I don't like what it's doing for the male female, because you cannot be, 0.0. It's either 0 or 1. Okay? Oh, well, it's doing the mean. I don't like how it's doing the mean, but well. Okay. Well, here, this is what I was talking about. This is a draw histogram custom function. What it's doing is that it's taking the whole data frame. This is taking the list of columns. This is a number of rows, number of columns that you want to see in a plot. Okay? Then what it's going to do, it's doing the figure size, and then it's looking through the features, and it's going to plot the histogram for the feature, for the column, right? Then it just displays. In my case, scissors, I call draw histogram. I want to have 6 rows and 3 columns, right? Well, that's what it does. It's just a plot. It's gonna plot all of them. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and do one at a time, right? But just a little shortcut. But if you have categorical column, somehow you could check the data type. There should be a way, okay? This is just plot show. This is just to show the plot, see? So this is a feel free to reuse it, but you're not required. See, this is for you to have. Then, of course, you can do this pair plot. You use the Seaborn package here, but beware, this plot takes a long time to generate, so you just know it. This here is your friend. You're not required to do that, but this is something that you can discuss. How can you improve the accuracy? Well, you want to look at the correlations. You want to make sure that your predictors are independent from each other. And you can see right away, see this, the number of cigarettes per day. And if the person is a smoker, you can see it right away, the correlation. So you want to use one or the other, but not both, right? Well, you have one across the diagonal because it's just the column is itself, right? So here, remember correlation could be negative as well, right? So you basically have a list of columns here, list of columns vertical, and the cells intersection is a correlation between the columns, see? Current smoker and cigarettes per day, obviously, right? Those two. And I have seen something more. Probably if the person has diabetes and the person the glucose, see? Those two, right? So here, this is just a correlation, right? And this is just the figure size, and you can specify if you want to annotate. Like, see this, you have a color code, right? The color code shows the correlation, but you also want to put the actual value. That's what it means. The line width and etc. You just specify the properties here, right? Something else. Well, here, well, this is a parsing data. Take a look at this. What it's doing, this is just reading the RDD, right? So this is the first 5 rows that were read. Take a look at this. The first row contains what? Column headers. But there is no column header called name. So I cannot just take this code from Titanic and paste, because it's not gonna remove, it's not gonna skip the headings, right? So what instead I did here, I put patient ID, because see, the first line contains this patient ID. So I know that this row is with headings. So here, remember anonymous function lambda in Python, right? So here, I'm skipping this, then I'm using the map to call the custom function called parse document. Well, see this, and the parse document returns what? The set of labeled document. Then I'm taking that set to the data frame. Here, I'm showing the number of records, and I'm showing first 5 records. If my first record shows the column headings, I better go back and edit this code, okay? I should not see my column headings here, right? So then, that's just a catch thing, you know. And you split data in a test set and a training set. Then you have to build the model you want to run, predict for the test data, right? For the training data first, then for the test data, right? But see this? Well, it's returns the probability of fact that it's a risk and probability of not risk, right? So the value, whatever, see, the prediction is 0 because see this, 0 has a higher probability. See this? The probability here is that the person is not at risk is higher than probability that the person is at risk. That's why it's 0. See, it's looking through this, and it's looking at the highest probability. So see this row here, a person is at risk because see this 88%, right, is at risk, and 12%, maybe 11% is not at risk. So it's taken as the highest. Prediction is looking at the highest probability. That's what it does, see? And this is just the printout for the records. It's long, I know. Okay. Well, here you're just doing you're trying to tabulate how many are actually at risk and not at risk versus how many were predicted at risk that are not at risk and predicted not at risk that are at risk, right? Then you're doing evaluating the model. You're looking at the accuracy. Well, one thing to keep in mind is that the accuracy 100% is a problem. Why? Because your model would be overfitting the data, right? Then when you get the brand new record, the model is gonna return in a lot of problems, right? A lot of errors because you overfitted the data to the sample. Remember, you have a question. It's a review question on overfitting. So if my accuracy for the training data is 95% and the test data is only like 50%, there is a high chance that you're overfitting the model on the training data, okay? So here you're evaluating on test data, 76%, okay? Looking at the errors, then see area under ROC curve, that's fine. But if this was under 0.5, you better check your code, okay? Because area under the ROC curve is between 0.5 and 1, okay? Well, that's doing the plot here. Now let's take a look to make sure that was covered. Well, we talked about this histogram. Well, see, in those are the packages that you need the matplotlib library. So this is a library that you need for this histogram. you need to make sure that you're reading the data correctly, because if some of the features are not numbers, that's not going to work, right? Okay, this is just the picture of the histograms. This is the for the correlation. Well, in addition to Matplotlib, you're using the Seaborn package. Okay. Remember, correlation is between -1 and 1, and the columns must be numeric for correlation plot to work. Okay, so that's a correlation plot. Then you have to save the notebook as an HTML. Then you can print the HTML notebook to PDF file, okay? And you submit the PDF. PDF, I think it's better because it will have your pictures, right? The visualizations. You're doing visualizations, okay? Then this is just another example where they predict if heating and air conditioning system is operational. Operation means that the set point temperature is close to the actual temperature, okay? That's just another example where they use the label document, but what they don't do is they don't do the testing the model on the actual test set, okay? They don't do that, but we need to do it for assignment. Then you could also discuss, you have to discuss what other methods you could use. Maybe naive Bayes, perhaps. You can discuss the decision tree, neural network, right? Ensemble methods, but you have to explain the rationale. If you say that naive Bayes method is going to work better, why? You see what I'm saying? So this will take a little bit of research, right? You need to do the reading to check which are the methods you think could be used, right? And one thing to keep in mind, if the column is a binary, it does not necessarily mean that logistic regression is a suitable method. Just keep this in mind, okay? There are a lot of things to consider, such as data set size and more, okay? So, and I recommend reading on how you would handle the unbalanced data. You may want to address this in your paper. Because if you do the frequency count, you're going to see that the columns that you are predicting is unbalanced, okay? So that was that, and you're going to get this notebook. Probably some of you have alternative ways to open notebook without actually importing, right? I forgot what it's called, the Colab, something like that. You can preview, you can open and view the notebook without actually running it, right? But here you've got it with the output, right? Or you could also do this. You could save this output in a HTML or in a PDF file. There are multiple options, but you're gonna get a copy of this notebook, okay? Well, you're gonna have it. It's something that I want you to have, okay? And maybe like you're not gonna be doing correlation plot perhaps, but you may want to talk about the correlations in a paper, right? Like why you do visualizations for logistic regression, it's important to check if the predictors are independent from each other, right? And same as naive Bayes. See, that's why it's called naive. Naive Bayes method assumes independence, right? It's independence assumption. So very important, you must discuss it. If you want to discuss naive Bayes method, you have to discuss the independence assumption and etc. Okay? So you don't just say, hey, I think naive Bayes would work. You need to explain why to get more points. Then you also need to explain what the output shows. You have to interpret what you're getting, right? Like for example, instead of just pasting this visualization, do this age distribution. Instead of just taking this and pasting this into my assignment paper, I need to explain that most of the people in my study are between, something like that. And this looks like a bimodal distribution. But anyways, you need to explain, right? Like most of the people in my study have this age, right? Then you could be plotting. This is a 10-year risk, right? And you're looking at the occasion, right? So in your data, you have most of the data has the education level 1, right? That's where most of the data is. Sometimes just based on the plot, you can see the dependencies, but see, you don't have to stick with age column. You pick the columns that you want to visualize, okay? So see, you look at the age distribution, you look at other distributions, and some of them are skewed, right? Well, like, see this, is this diabetes column going to be helpful much in analysis? So you have most of the people don't have it, right? Only few people have it, see? So, and etc., right? So you look at the distributions to decide which columns could be helpful for analysis and etc., right? So you need to look at the correlations and more fun stuff, right? And you have to like explain what you can do to improve the accuracy of the model. Make sure that you answer all questions in the rubric and also in a assignment description, okay? It's not just about getting the result, it's what result means, right? So now it's going to be your turn. Questions on the assignment. Is it clear what you need to do for both parts? Okay. Well, if you, yes, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when the data is read from CSV file, is it uploaded as a string?
Well, no, you're doing it, uploading it into two things. You're creating Panda data frame that you use for analysis, and another one is RDD, resilient data set, remember? You're uploading it into RDD, and you're parsing the RDD, the row at a time, and you're creating the label document from it. See, label document. And label document takes what? 3 parameters, right? So here it's an identifier. This is a concatenation, see? It's taking the row and it's concatenating, it's doing the delimited list of columns that I'm using as my predictors, right? And this
Right. I mean, right there, where you're defined in the function where you have if
Right.
statement, right? Values of 16, you're comparing it as a string.
Yes.
So it looks like when you're reading the CSV file into it, each row, the elements in each row is read as a string, not integer.
You're
So
reading
my question is, do you have to convert it into different integer data type?
No, because the label is either 1.0 or 0.0. No, you don't. You don't.
Right, label is, but like as example, I'm a little really confused because age is, I mean, the code itself is computing the average of age.
There are two things. There are two things where you read. That one was Pandas data frame. This is a RDD. No,
okay.
Yeah,
got it.
no worries.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. One has ASCII value of 0. One has ASCII value greater than 0, so you're good here. Yeah, but you're reading it. Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, no worries, but there are two things. RDD is an immutable thing, right? We use RDD to run the method. Then we also load the Panda data frame. That's for analysis. You want to use Panda data frame in there. That's what it is. It's different. How can you get new notebook started? Well, okay. You have two options here. One option is you take this notebook that was given to you and rename it an important edit, right? That's one option you have. You just take existing notebook and add, or when you add a notebook, there is an option to start new, right? But I would recommend you may want to prepare some of the code in advance and then paste, because you want to save your hours, right? Well, the question is how to get the new notebook started. There are multiple options in here. Some students use another software, I think it's GoLab, something like that, to edit the cells. So basically, well, you can start, use what is given to you as a starter, but you need to keep in mind that you have to edit the code, right? Or if the hours were unlimited, I would say go ahead and do a new notebook. Remember, when you create a new notebook, there is an option to start as new instead of upload, right? But for you, you're probably gonna upload, then you're gonna edit the code, you're gonna prepare the code before you open it in the edit mode. And big hint, you're gonna be changing this big parser thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna be changing the code where you call in a parser function. You might have different visualizations, right? Column names are different, etc. Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
what I had trouble with is I had trouble getting like because I tried to make a copy of the other one and upload the
Mhm,
Excel data again, and
mhm.
it
Which,
just didn't quite work for some reason.
oh, you want to upload the different data set? It's a different data set.
Yeah,
Yeah, you need to go to here, or you need to go to the project to upload the data. You upload data to the project. Right. But, well, the thing is, the credentials code is going to be different. That's another thing. Credentials code will be different because the file is different, right? File name different. I mean, do you see that? The file name is not the same. So the credentials code is going to be different. So if I were you, I would delete the credentials code, redo that. Bucket name, it depends if you're reusing the same project, should be the same. Well, see this you can do here, right? Oops, here, this is where to upload the data, right? Then the code to read the data is going to be different, not the same, right? You saw where I selected the data, right? But what exactly you had problem with? Because see, you can take the code given to you and edit, it's up to you, you know, or from scratch, but be careful with the hours, okay? It's your choice how you do it, but don't run out of hours. I'm a broken record, I know.
well, no,
Yeah, I know.
where's the credential then?
Oh, okay, I'm gonna show you again. I'm gonna go this here. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
I might have
here.
missed it.
View. It's in here. Well, if you go here, when you receive the Titanic notebook, you're gonna see the empty cell. This cell is gonna be empty, right? Oops. It's in here. You're gonna have a cell like this, it's gonna be empty, right? And you would have to click on a code, you know, you saw the instructions, right? You saw what I did when I started. Did you?
I'll have to watch it again.
Okay.
It seemed like I didn't have that option available when I
Which
saved.
option? You need to go to the edit mode.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go to edit mode right now, but I have to be careful. Okay, I'm going to edit mode. Well, when you edit the credentials, right? You should have that option. So see, you go in here, you start in the runtime, right? When you go to this line of code, hold on, not this, in here, right? You should have this. Well, I know you did not have it, but, oh, see now, I would have to do this. I would have to go here, see? I would have to click here, right? Oops, no, I'm wrong. I have to go to here. See this? Well, this is what code snippets. Code snippets. You would need to click here. Read data. Select data from project, right? You're gonna do the data asset. Then you're gonna do this one, right? Well, in my case, it's this. I go select, right? Then you're gonna have to change it to Spark Session Data Frame. Your cursor here, and you're gonna click Insert Go to cell.
Okay,
This is,
okay.
this is credentials, okay?
Yeah, I'll watch this part again if I need to. Yeah, so you're saying,
You have to add it's your credentials, right? Your bucket name, your credentials. It's going to be slightly different because it's different data, see? You cannot just, see, this is a different data. But if you're using the same project, bucket should be the same, okay? So I'm not running anything now. I have to do this. Stop kernel, shut down. I don't want to consume hours, right? So here, well, do you see what it's doing? It's reading two things. It's doing it's gonna do the data RDD and also the data frame. Pandas data frame, okay? The pandas data frame is used for analysis, for the descriptive analysis and for visualizations. RDD is used to run the method, the pipeline, okay? Make sense or not? Well, ask, it's your turn.
I'm just going to try it again. Okay.
You got the credentials, then you've got this parser thing. Well, most of the errors are in this function, okay? 80%, if not 90%. People make mistakes. Do not take it as is. You have to edit it. Do yourself a favor. Leave the columns like this. I know you listed them at the top, but you want to put like this, so you know, I have it at position 16. This is my target. Let's put this here. Let's do this logic here, etc. Okay. Well, I know it's a string, but ASCII value of 1, right, is always greater than 0. So, well, okay. So you are reading data only once, right? You're previewing, you're doing analysis, and then you're calling the parser function to build the labeled documents, right? And you're running the method. Well, okay. You have to pay attention here where you skipping the row. See this here? I don't have name column. I use patient ID, right? Well, that's one thing. Another common error is the Python is case sensitive. Page has different capitalization. In a part 1 and part 2 data, column H has different capitalization. So that's why they're getting an error, because they tried to reuse the code, but they did not change the capitalization, okay? So that's one reason for people get error. But most of the errors are in where? In the parser, okay? Most of the error, but example I just provided is the non-parser error, where students forget that it's a case sensitive, okay? So H first letter capitalized is not the same as H in lowercase, okay? That's one thing. If anybody who took this class the semester ago, you have to download the new instructions, because before this was available, right? You could see the data sets names here, and you just select partition data frame. It was here. Now, no, you have to explicitly go to code snippets to see this, okay? Before it was not the case, but now it is, okay? You need to go to code snippets to add this code now. So please make sure you're using the current instructions. Some people ended up retaking the course, because if you take old instructions, you're gonna be, where is this, where is that, okay? Now, here, if I'm done, what I have to do, remember this. Remember, you have to go to environmental runtime and you have to stop it. See, I used 1 hour, which is okay. See, I still have my 9 hours. What's gonna happen on September 30, very late at night, this is gonna be reset to 10, okay? But remember, this counter is going up. It's a keep on running. In this case, Spark, next assignment, RStudio, my counter is gonna be going up. Hours are gonna be increasing, okay? This is what I've used. and it's counting, right? So I recommend when you're working on this, pick the time where you are less likely to be disrupted, right? That way you can concentrate and you don't forget to stop, right? You don't want to forget to stop the environment, okay? Then, so this is that. For next assignment, you're gonna be credited hours again. Next one, database is not gonna take hours, but R will. Okay, so do not delete the project, because what you're gonna do is next time you will reuse, next assignment, you're gonna reuse the project to launch RStudio, okay? So the project, UL projects, next assignment, you're gonna be reusing the project. Okay, so do not delete this project when you're done. Okay, you're gonna do this next assignment, okay? But the DB2 does not consume hours. R will. But by the time you're gonna be credited hours again, so unused hours cannot be carried over to next month, okay? You cannot borrow hours from next month. You cannot you cannot use hours that were not used last month. Okay, so it goes month by month, okay? If you mess up, you won't be able to do the assignment until next month, right? Then there is a risk of environmental upgrade, right? You never know. So do not give the heads up. They just go in and add the new version. Then both versions exist for a while, then they deprecate. So, well, when they add the new version, you're gonna see the deprecation warning for this version of the environment, okay? Like last semester, everybody saw the deprecation warning for the Python 7.9, right? There was a warning. But they did not say exact deprecation date. Later, I did some digging and I found it was posted 1 week before it actually happened, and I let the instructor know. So if I know something, I'm gonna let the instructor know and he will let you know. But if I don't know something, then well, of course, it's not gonna happen this week, because even if they update the new version, there should be like at least 1 or 2 weeks. So you should still be able to use. Like if they add a new version now, you're gonna see the warning, but you still be able to do assignments. See? So, but just be aware, at any time, they could add new version of the Python. The code was tested only on this version. Sometimes when you have a new version, you may need to make some edits here and there. It depends, okay? But just be aware that at any time, they could be changed, right? Updates happen as we speak, okay? Professor Razan, is there anything that you need to say that I forgot to say? Professor Razan, are you still here? Well, let me know. So guys, any questions, please let me know. You can unmute yourself too and ask a question. Anything. So you're gonna get a copy of the data, just in case. You're gonna have a copy of the notebook, right? But of course, it's gonna have my credential. How do you delete the project? Well, you don't want to delete, but in general, well, see here, I'm gonna go to projects, right? Well, this is here, and I'm just gonna do delete, select delete, okay? But I'm not gonna do it. But you just go here and select delete and see if that does it. But here it is, deleting the project does not stop the running runtime environment. You must stop the environment. Deleting the project does not stop the environment. No, you don't need to do extra data exploration. This is for you to have, right? If you're concerned about the hours, no, you don't. This is optional. You could talk about it, like what would you do to improve the model performance? I would have looked at the correlations, can talk about it. But this is not required. This is for you. Well, because see, the session needs to add value to what's in the classroom, right? So I did it for you guys so that you can walk away with these examples that you could maybe use in your next class or something like that, So you have this example. This is for you. Okay?
So
Yeah.
question is, so for this assignment, we don't have to improve the accuracy? We can just run as is, talk about it, and then talk about how we can
Yes.
improve it?
Yes, it's a theoretical question.
Ah, okay.
You don't need
Thank
to
you.
yeah, because of the hour thing. But
Okay.
yeah, well, see, if I was writing this paper, I would discuss the unbalanced unbalanced columns that you're predicting, right? I would
Right.
talk about that, yes. I would talk about the correlations, like the framing head data. It's very easy to see, like number of cigarettes, and if the person is a smoker. If I smoke, for example, 5 cigarettes per day, I must be a smoker. If I smoke 0 cigarettes, then of course I'm not a smoker, like that. It's just an easy example, but you want to look at that. This is more theoretical, yes, and you can go in multiple directions here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sure, but I mean, you know how to get an A, right?
Right.
Well, you do. I mean, I was a
Thanks.
student too. Yes, I was a student, but I was more in information technology database area. But the difference is you take 1 class per semester, and I was taking 2-3 credit courses per semester. So that's a difference. So, but as I started doing big data also now. So yeah, but it was years ago. I was a student years ago, but I was. So I remember, and I've been there, so I remember what it takes. Okay, so no worries. Okay. And I'm looking to make sure I don't miss any questions. Okay, more questions? This is, guys, for you. It's your opportunity for questions. Okay. So, thanks goodness so far, everybody is careful with hours. Nobody running out. Right? That's good. Good news. Okay. But no tickets does not mean that somebody who ran out did not notify. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to be surprised. Okay. Anything else I can help you with? Well, I'm not going to do the assignment on your behalf, but any questions, concerns? No? Okay, well, going once. Okay, let me see something in the chat. Oh, okay, most welcome. Okay, thank you guys for attending this session. Appreciate your time. Okay, so even if you attended, I recommend to watch it again, okay? A lot of information here, okay? So if there are no more questions, I'm gonna stop the recording and you're gonna get recording. You're gonna get the files, okay? So we're gonna do the stop recording.